Yep, that's exactly what you saw on my journey from Lagos to Abuja. You see, I had flown many times from Lagos to Abuja, but this experience is one I will never forget in a hurry. The day started off really bright and early. I mean, the sun was shiny and it wasn't rainy. It was meant to depart at 10:40 a.m. from the MM1 domestic wing of the Murtala Mohammed Airport in Ikeja to Abuja, and a duration that would have lasted about 55 minutes, but that was not the case because this duration lasted almost 5 hours, and I'll tell you why. First of all, on the morning of departure, we got a text message saying that the flight had been delayed for about an hour, so we were to depart at 11:40. And then we got to the airport and 11:40 came. They called other airlines going to different parts of the country like Asaba, Enugu, Abuja, even with Airpeace, but Arik decided not to call our flight. Bear in mind, no information was given as to the cause of the delay. I mean, the flight wasn't cancelled, it was just delayed. Delayed for an hour, delayed for 2 hours, up until around, 1 ish. And then they called our flight. We got onto the airplane and I just observed the airplane. I was looking to documents as usual, very excited. Noticed the monitor, even though it wasn't working, and kept on imagining to myself, do these work? And you're wondering why people are fanning themselves. Well, it's simple. You see, when we got on the aircraft, I mean, safety briefing was done. Everything was right and dandy on time. Well, on time in the sense that we thought we were going to fly. But the ACs were not working. We were still on ground. Then it started. People brought out the in-flight magazines in front of them and started to fan themselves. A lot of people started to put their hands on the vents to see what is going on. I tried to film outside to see, are they passing aviation fuel or are they trying to start something? And then the first information came out. The pilot informed us that the safety mechanism that is meant to start the plane wasn't working, so they had to get another one. At this point, we were all sweating like goats that I was about to go under the Ramadan knife. And people were getting agitated. We asked to disembark from the plane. Some of the hostesses said we were beginning to get unruly. Yet we were still calm, standing, and the door to the plane was still shut against us. We went back to our seats, and the pilot announced again that the second safety mechanism that is meant to work with the plane came back faulty. I decided to speak to the hostess. I was livid at this point and almost having a panic attack. One of the hostesses said, it's something that he used to jumpstart the plane. That is what is happening. I said, jumpstart the plane? So what happens mid-air if the plane decides to stop? What's going to jumpstart it? And the other man laughed. Have you ever seen that happen? Even when they jumpstart a car, does it stop in motion? To be honest, I have never experienced this at all. And as much as I sympathize with the staff because they were doing what they had to do, it was very unbearing and almost ridiculous to think at this point that these things are still happening. First of all, if you knew this safety thing wasn't working, why did you allow people to board the plane? Second of all, even if it wasn't working, why didn't you turn on the AC? I was literally sweating like a chicken. As you see in the video, some people still sat down because they felt some of us were just talking for nothing. But it just struck me, why is it that Nigerians are very quick to adapt in the most annoying situations? When we came out, it was a sign of fresh air. I mean, the breeze that came onto our skin, our hair, our faces was like Thanksgiving. At this point, we got back to the shuttle bus to take us back to the terminal. The discussions on the bus were different. Some people came up to me to say thank you. And I said, in my mind, thank you for what? I want to see my family back home. I don't want to be RIP on this flight. I also noticed there was a celebrity on board, and I really do not blame the celebrity because the celebrity decided not to speak out. These days of social media, you have to be very careful because you don't want to be caught and recorded and put on blast on social media. But I really didn't care. Sometimes it's best to speak up. for posterity's sake, really. And so we went back and we waited on the shuttle bus that would take us back to the terminal. At the terminal, no information was given. Some of us just had to sit, others had to go to the flight desk to ask what really happened. And they said the same thing. It's not, no, there's nothing wrong with the aircraft. It's just that thing that puts pressure to start the aircraft that didn't work. Mind you, this time we had checked in all our luggages. Some of us were very hungry and very angry. But I decided to look at the bigger picture. I was grateful that this would take them time to really sort it out. Imagine if we were just there being patient and nothing was being done. As much as I wanted the aircraft to be changed to another one, I knew it was really impossible. So this is our slow walk back into the terminal to go and look for places to sit. Imagine having to come back. People were staring at us saying, aren't these the ones that went on the flight and now they're back? What is going on? Some people were talking to the officials. I was checking the time really to say, okay, this is now 1:41 p.m. So apparently we must have gotten to the plane around 12-ish. So at some point I even noticed an helicopter. I'm like, okay, can you please take us back? In no time we were called again to board the flight, the same flight we had disembarked on. And to be honest, I was still very, very worried. To think that it was still the same flight that they were going to get that safety thing to jumpstart being the operative word. I have never ever heard of that during my frequent flight travels. And so we got back to the plane. This time, as you can see, it was just around a little after 2 p.m. And guess what? The doors at the back of the plane were open this time. They were open. Initially, they were all shut. Right now, the doors at the back were open. And the AC still didn't come on. And the aircraft still didn't move. We were asking the question again, what is going on? Until we were told by the hostess that, this time, 6 passengers decided not to follow us back from our journey or continue with us on our journey from Lagos to Abuja. I got more scared. Like, these are the brave ones. Why didn't I just go with them? Do I have to really, really fly to Abuja? People still got out their their papers to fan themselves, but it was sort of reassuring now at this point. As you can tell from this point, it was sort of reassuring now that we were going to fly because we're beginning to taxi. The plane was beginning to move, even though the AC still was yet to come on. My colleagues and I were still putting up our hands to the vent and still fanning ourselves, and Fumi was still very, very much scared. But it got to a point I said to myself, I had to be brave, I had to be strong. And so we moved my plane, my phone at this time was on airplane mode. So I was able to film what we got in flight. You could see the snacks and it was quite interesting. Got looking at the in-flight magazines as well, even though it was a little bit torn. I guess a lot of people probably had been fanning themselves in previous trips. I don't know. Or maybe it's a little bit old. Soon after, the plane took off and we were able to finally fly. And at this point, there was turbulence, but I decided to stay calm. After all, the journey was just for about 55 minutes. I kept on looking at the articles on the in-flight magazine and appreciating the amount of work Nigerian entrepreneurs put in to be able to get visibility on, a plane like this. You have companies or firms or even businesses like law firms, fashion entrepreneur and businesses, food and drink businesses advertising their work on flights. And I thought to myself, this is such an ingenious idea to be able to bring in your brand for millions to see. And I also appreciated the late Dora Akunyili's daughter, who happens to be an artist who fetches for just one artwork millions of dollars. There was actually a particular painting that she did, which was sort of abstract, that fetched her over $4.4 million at an auction.
Just number three in sequence. We're currently slowing your frustrations in terms of the fact that it was quite warm in the cabin, which we do really sincerely appreciate your patience, because also because the APU, which is the auxiliary power unit of this aircraft, had to shut down, we had to also call for an external air conditioner cut, which clearly didn't have the required power that the aircraft normally does. Hence, there was the two trials of start, and then we had to disembark and then ensure that the third one will be brought in for us to actually test run it before you were brought aboard. So bear with us, but sometimes a little bit of patience is actually very important to do with these things. None of us, nobody in our would endanger our own lives, let alone endanger lives of our esteemed customers. We thank you for your patience, and if Abuja is your home, I will still welcome to Abuja, despite one of
After the pilot's briefing to us, I just looked at what was in my box. I had the cookie, it was dry, it was nice, but this chin chin was the star of the box. It was baked chin chin. It honestly didn't feel like anything out of the shores of Lagos or even Nigeria. It was really nice. Packaging was so nice. It looked like it was imported, but I was proud when I saw it. It is actually made here in Lagos. The journey continued. This time we were a few minutes to descending into the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport in Abuja. People were playing gospel music. People right now could look down and say, oof, give a sign of relief that they were almost home, and to those that were just touring, they were almost to their destination.
Future flights. Do have a lovely stay in Abuja and a safe drive to your various destinations. Thank you and goodbye.
I mean, normally when people say thank you for flying with us, I'm eager to give the smile or say, oh, thank you in return, or oh, you're welcome. But when the assessor said thank you for flying with us, I really didn't know how to react. So we finally landed Abuja, and besides the fact that the journey was the way it was, I was just grateful to God that everything went on fine at the end. Will I be flying Arik anytime soon? I guess time will tell. And for those that think the conveyor belt in Nigeria does not work, this is to show you that the conveyor belt, both in Lagos and in Abuja, works perfectly. I hope you were able to enjoy or learn a thing or two about flying locally in Nigeria. And thanks for sticking around. I will see you in my next video. Bye.